Wind down tonight with a sleep story designed to calm your thoughts and ease you gently into deep rest. This 2-hour video combines the soothing crackle of a cozy fireplace with soft-spoken storytelling. Before we begin, get comfortable. Allow your eyes to grow heavy. Let your breathing become slow and steady. And as the sounds of the modern world slowly fade away, imagine yourself standing on the edge of the American frontier. The year is 1875. The sun is rising over a vast and unfamiliar landscape. Golden light spreads across endless grasslands. The air is cool. The sky seems impossibly large, and all around you stretches a world that is both beautiful and unforgiving. Many people today imagine the Wild West as a place of adventure, a land of fearless cowboys, fast horses, and exciting gunfights. But the reality was far less glamorous. Life here was difficult. Every day required hard work. Every season brought new challenges, and survival was never guaranteed. You have been traveling for weeks. Your wagon slowly rolls across a dusty trail. The wooden wheels creak with every turn. The journey has been long enough that the days have begun to blur together. Dust covers your clothes. Your boots are worn, and your water supply is growing dangerously low. In the distance, you finally see a small frontier town. A cluster of wooden buildings stands beneath the morning sky. A few thin trails of smoke rise from chimneys. Several horses wander quietly near a hitching post. The town appears peaceful, perhaps even welcoming. But as you draw closer, you begin to notice the reality of frontier life. The streets are made entirely of dirt. Every passing wagon sends clouds of dust into the air. The buildings look weathered. Years of harsh sunlight, strong winds, and powerful storms have left their marks on every wall. Nothing here appears luxurious. Nothing here appears easy. You climb down from your wagon and take your first steps into town. The ground crunches beneath your boots. The first thing you notice is the smell. Horses, cattle, wood smoke, and the unmistakable scent of a place without modern sanitation. Animals are everywhere. They are essential for transportation, farming, and work. But they also create waste, especially during the hot summer months. The smell often lingers throughout the streets. As the town slowly comes to life, people begin their daily routines. A blacksmith starts heating his forge. Store owners unlock wooden doors. Farmers prepare their wagons. Children carry buckets of water. Everyone has work to do, and everyone understands that survival depends upon effort. Nothing comes easily here. Not food, not water, not shelter. Every necessity requires time and labor. You soon discover that something is simple, as drinking water is far more complicated than it seems. There are no water treatment plants, no bottled water, no kitchen faucets. Most families rely on wells, rivers, or streams. Unfortunately, these sources are not always safe. Contaminated water can spread disease quickly. Many people become seriously ill from infections that modern medicine would easily treat today, and medical care is limited, very limited. Some towns have a doctor, many do not. Even skilled doctors possess only a fraction of the tools available in modern hospitals. A minor injury can become dangerous. A small infection can become deadly. Something as simple as a cut on your hand can quickly turn into a serious problem. As the sun rises higher into the sky, the temperature begins to climb. The cool morning air disappears. Heat settles across the town. The dusty streets shimmer beneath the sunlight. Summer in the American West can be brutal. Shade is scarce. Water is precious, and long days of physical labor become exhausting. Farmers spend hours working their fields. Ranchers care for cattle. Builders repair homes and barns. Every task takes longer without modern machinery. Every task demands patience and strength. For many people, work continues from sunrise until sunset. There are no weekends, no paid vacations, no convenient shortcuts. Life follows the rhythm of nature. The seasons determine everything. A good harvest can mean survival. A poor harvest can mean hardship. A severe drought can destroy months of work. A harsh winter can threaten entire communities. Nature controls life on the frontier, and nature can be unpredictable. As afternoon slowly approaches, the town grows quieter. The heat becomes intense. Even the horses seem less energetic. Dust drifts through the air. The distant sound of hammer striking metal echoes from the blacksmith's shop. A wagon rattles slowly down the street. And beyond the town, endless miles of wilderness stretch toward the horizon. A wilderness filled with opportunity, but also uncertainty and danger. For now, however, the frontier remains calm. The sun shines brightly overhead. The wind moves gently across the plains. And another long day in the Wild West continues beneath the vast American sky. As the afternoon sun hangs high above the frontier, the heat becomes almost impossible to ignore. The air feels heavy. The dusty streets seem to shimmer beneath the sunlight. Even the horses standing beside the hitching posts appear tired. For newcomers arriving in the Wild West, the heat is often one of the first great challenges. There are no air conditioners, no electric fans, no cool supermarkets where you can escape the temperature. The only relief comes from shade, and shade is not always easy to find. You decide to explore more of the town. Slowly, you walk along the main street. The wooden sidewalks creak beneath your boots. A wagon rolls past. Its wheels produce a steady rattling sound against the rough ground. The driver nods politely as he passes. Most people here understand the value of simple kindness. Life is difficult for everyone. A helping hand can make all the difference. As you continue walking, you notice how small the town really is. There is a general store, a blacksmith, a saloon, a stable, a few homes, and little else. Many frontier towns begin this way. Some grow larger. Others disappear completely. In the Wild West, entire communities sometimes rise and fall within only a few years. A nearby gold discovery might attract thousands of settlers. When the gold runs out, the people often leave. The buildings remain behind, empty, silent, slowly returning to the land. Throughout the American West, hundreds of ghost towns eventually appear. Places that once echoed with conversation and activity. Places that later become abandoned memories. The afternoon continues. The heat remains relentless. You notice several people carrying water. Every drop matters, especially during the summer months. A dry season can create enormous problems. Crops begin to struggle. Grass becomes scarce. Livestock grows weaker. Farmers look toward the sky and hope for rain. Sometimes it arrives. Sometimes it does not. A long drought can change everything. Months of hard work can disappear beneath a cloudless sky. For many settlers, weather becomes a constant source of anxiety. No matter how carefully they plan, no matter how hard they work, they remain at the mercy of nature. As the day slowly moves forward, you leave the town behind and walk toward the surrounding countryside. The landscape stretches endlessly in every direction. Rolling grasslands extend beyond the horizon. Small groups of cattle graze peacefully in distant fields. The openness feels almost unbelievable. There are few fences, few roads, and very few people. The American frontier is vast, much larger than most newcomers expect. It is easy to feel small here. Very small. The enormous sky seems to stretch forever. Clouds drift lazily overhead. The wind moves gently through the tall grass. For a moment, the world feels calm, peaceful, almost timeless. Yet frontier life remains unpredictable. A sudden storm can appear with little warning. Dark clouds gather on the horizon. Strong winds begin to rise. Lightning flashes across the sky. Within minutes, a peaceful afternoon can become a dangerous situation. Many settlers learn to respect the weather, because ignoring it often comes at a high cost. As evening approaches, the intense heat finally begins to fade. Long shadows stretch across the land. The golden light of sunset covers the plains. The town grows quieter. Workers finish their daily tasks. Farm animals are fed. Tools are stored away. Doors begin to close. After a long day of labor, families gather inside their homes. Simple meals are prepared. Conversations remain quiet. Most people are exhausted. Tomorrow will bring another day of work, another day of challenges, another day of survival. Outside, the sky slowly changes color. Orange becomes red, red becomes purple. And eventually, darkness begins its slow return to the American frontier. One by one, the first stars appear overhead. The air grows cooler. The sounds of the day begin to fade away. And beneath the vast western sky, another peaceful night prepares to begin. As the afternoon sun hangs high above the frontier, the heat becomes almost impossible to ignore. The air feels heavy. The dusty streets seem to shimmer beneath the sunlight. Even the horses standing beside the hitching posts appear tired. For newcomers arriving in the Wild West, the heat is often one of the first great challenges. There are no air conditioners, no electric fans, no cool supermarkets where you can escape the temperature. The only relief comes from shade, and shade is not always easy to find. You decide to explore more of the town. Slowly, you walk along the main street. The wooden sidewalks creak beneath your boots. A wagon rolls past. Its wheels produce a steady rattling sound against the rough ground. The driver nods politely as he passes. Most people here understand the value of simple kindness. Life is difficult for everyone. A helping hand can make all the difference. As you continue walking, you notice how small the town really is. There is a general store, a blacksmith, a saloon, a stable, a few homes, and little else. Many frontier towns begin this way. Some grow larger. Others disappear completely. In the Wild West, entire communities sometimes rise and fall within only a few years. A nearby gold discovery might attract thousands of settlers. When the gold runs out, the people often leave. The buildings remain behind, empty, silent, slowly returning to the land. Throughout the American West, hundreds of ghost towns eventually appear. Places that once echoed with conversation and activity. Places that later become abandoned memories. The afternoon continues. The heat remains relentless. You notice several people carrying water. Every drop matters, especially during the summer months. A dry season can create enormous problems. Crops begin to struggle. Grass becomes scarce. Livestock grows weaker. Farmers look toward the sky and hope for rain. Sometimes it arrives. Sometimes it does not. A long drought can change everything. Months of hard work can disappear beneath a cloudless sky. For many settlers, weather becomes a constant source of anxiety. No matter how carefully they plan, no matter how hard they work, they remain at the mercy of nature. As the day slowly moves forward, you leave the town behind and walk toward the surrounding countryside. The landscape stretches endlessly in every direction. Rolling grasslands extend beyond the horizon. Small groups of cattle graze peacefully in distant fields. The openness feels almost unbelievable. There are few fences, few roads, and very few people. The American frontier is vast, much larger than most newcomers expect. It is easy to feel small here. Very small. The enormous sky seems to stretch forever. Clouds drift lazily overhead. The wind moves gently through the tall grass. For a moment, the world feels calm, peaceful, almost timeless. Yet frontier life remains unpredictable. A sudden storm can appear with little warning. Dark clouds gather on the horizon. Strong winds begin to rise. Lightning flashes across the sky. Within minutes, a peaceful afternoon can become a dangerous situation. Many settlers learn to respect the weather, because ignoring it often comes at a high cost. As evening approaches, the intense heat finally begins to fade. Long shadows stretch across the land. The golden light of sunset covers the plains. The town grows quieter. Workers finish their daily tasks. Farm animals are fed. Tools are stored away. Doors begin to close. After a long day of labor, families gather inside their homes. Simple meals are prepared. Conversations remain quiet. Most people are exhausted. Tomorrow will bring another day of work, another day of challenges, another day of survival. Outside, the sky slowly changes color. Orange becomes red, red becomes purple. And eventually, darkness begins its slow return to the American frontier. One by one, the first stars appear overhead. The air grows cooler. The sounds of the day begin to fade away. And beneath the vast western sky, another peaceful night prepares to begin. Night arrives slowly across the frontier. The final traces of sunlight disappear beyond the horizon. The sky darkens from deep blue to black. One by one, countless stars begin to appear overhead. Without city lights, the night sky is astonishing, brilliant, endless. The Milky Way stretches across the darkness like a glowing river of light. For many settlers, this is one of the few rewards of frontier life. A quiet moment beneath a sky that seems larger than anywhere else on Earth. The town settles into silence. The blacksmith's hammer no longer rings through the streets. The wagons have stopped moving. The shops are closed. Only a few lanterns remain lit behind dusty windows. Most people are already asleep. Tomorrow's work will begin before sunrise. Energy must be conserved whenever possible. Candles cost money. Lamp oil costs money, and neither can be wasted. Inside a small wooden cabin, a family prepares for bed. The room is simple. A wooden table, a few chairs, several blankets. A cast-iron stove that still radiates warmth from the evening fire. There is little luxury here, but there is shelter. And on the frontier, shelter means everything. Outside, the wind begins to move across the plains. It whistles softly between buildings. The temperature drops quickly. The American West is full of surprises. A day that felt unbearably hot can be followed by a surprisingly cold night. Many newcomers struggle to adapt. The climate demands respect. As the hours pass, the sounds of the wilderness slowly become more noticeable. Crickets sing endlessly in the grass. An owl calls from somewhere in the darkness. Far away, a coyote begins to howl. Then another answers. And another. Their voices drift across the open land. For people unfamiliar with the frontier, the sound can feel unsettling. The wilderness never truly sleeps. Even during the quietest nights, life continues beyond the edge of town. Some settlers lie awake listening. Others barely notice anymore. They have heard these sounds countless times before. Eventually, they become part of everyday life. Yet not everyone sleeps peacefully. Many ranchers remain awake, especially those responsible for large herds of cattle. Night can be dangerous. A sudden thunderstorm may appear without warning. A flash of lightning, a crack of thunder, and thousands of nervous cattle can panic at once. This is every cowboy's nightmare. A stampede. The ground begins to shake beneath thousands of hooves. Dust rises into the air. Animals surge forward through the darkness. Stopping them is incredibly difficult. Cowboys leap onto their horses and race into the night, not toward safety, but toward the danger. They ride beside the herd, trying to calm the animals, trying to prevent disaster. It is exhausting work, and often terrifying. Many cowboys spend entire nights in the saddle, watching, listening, remaining alert, because one mistake can have serious consequences. For now, however, the frontier remains calm. The stars shine brightly overhead. The wind continues its slow journey across the plains. The town sleeps peacefully beneath the darkness. And somewhere beyond the last wooden building, beyond the last fence, beyond the last lantern, the vast wilderness stretches endlessly into the night. Silent, mysterious, and waiting for the arrival of another day. Hours pass. The moon slowly crosses the sky. The campfires burn lower and lower. The sounds of the town become fewer. Even the coyotes grow quiet. Everything feels still. Everything feels calm. And as the night deepens across the American frontier, a new dawn slowly begins its journey toward the horizon. The first light of dawn slowly appears along the eastern horizon. The stars begin to fade. The darkness retreats. And another day begins on the American frontier. The air is cool, fresh, quiet. For a few brief moments, the world feels peaceful. Then the work starts again. A rooster crows somewhere in the distance. A cabin door opens. Boots crunch against the dry ground. Smoke begins rising from chimneys. The frontier is waking up. For many settlers, the day begins with water. Before breakfast, before conversation, before almost anything else. Water must be collected. A farmer walks toward a nearby well, wooden bucket in hand. The journey is familiar. He has made it hundreds of times before, perhaps thousands. The rope creaks as the bucket disappears into the darkness below. A few moments later, it returns filled with cold water. Heavy water, essential water. Without it, nothing on the frontier can function. People need it. Animals need it. Crops need it. Every drop matters. especially during dry seasons. As the sun slowly rises, the town becomes increasingly active. Horses are fed, wagons are loaded, store owners sweep dust from their entrances. Children begin their chores. Everyone contributes, everyone works. Even young children often carry responsibilities. Life on the frontier leaves little room for idleness. As the morning continues, you notice how dependent people are on their animals. Horses are everywhere. They pull wagons, carry riders, move supplies, and connect distant communities. Without horses, frontier life would slow to a crawl. A healthy horse can transform someone's future. A sick horse can create enormous problems. Many settlers care for their horses almost as carefully as they care for themselves. The animal is not merely transportation, it is survival. Far beyond town, ranchers are already at work. The open range stretches endlessly beneath the brightening sky. Thousands of cattle graze peacefully across the grasslands, at least for now. Managing cattle is not easy. Animals wander, fences break, storms create chaos. Predators occasionally appear. Every day brings new challenges. The work is repetitive, demanding, and often exhausting. Yet someone must do it. The growing nation depends upon beef, and beef depends upon ranchers. As the sun climbs higher, temperatures begin to rise once again. The cool comfort of morning slowly disappears. Heat settles across the land. Dust follows every wagon, every horse, every traveler. The frontier is a dusty place. Dust on clothing, dust on boots, dust on furniture, dust almost everywhere. New arrivals quickly discover that keeping clean is difficult. Water is too valuable to waste. Frequent bathing is uncommon. Many people simply learn to tolerate the dust. After a while, it becomes part of everyday life. The smell of leather, wood smoke, horse sweat, dust. These become the familiar scents of the American West. As midday approaches, travelers continue arriving from distant regions. Some seek opportunity, others seek land. Some dream of becoming wealthy. Gold still attracts hopeful adventurers. Stories of sudden fortunes continue spreading across the country. Many believe success is waiting just beyond the horizon. Unfortunately, reality is often less generous. For every person who becomes wealthy, countless others struggle. Mining is hard work, dangerous work, and often disappointing work. Long hours are spent digging, searching, hoping. Sometimes a miner works for months without discovering anything valuable. Yet hope remains powerful. It encourages people to keep going, to keep searching, to keep believing that tomorrow may be different. And so the frontier continues to grow, one wagon at a time, one family at a time, one dream at a time, under the endless western sky, beneath the warm sunlight, across the vast open plains of the American West, a land of opportunity, a land of hardship, and a land where survival is never guaranteed. The afternoon sun hangs high above the frontier. Heat spreads across the open plains. The air feels dry, almost motionless. Even the grass seems to stand still beneath the endless blue sky. This is the part of the day many settlers dislike the most. The morning's cool air is gone. The comfort of sunrise feels like a distant memory. Now there is only heat and work, always work. On a nearby ranch, a group of cowboys continues their daily routine. Their horses move slowly across the grasslands. Thousands of cattle graze across the open range. At first glance, the scene appears peaceful, almost relaxing, but appearances can be deceiving. Managing cattle is far more difficult than it looks. Animals wander, fences break, water sources dry up, storms appear without warning. Every day presents new problems, and every problem requires a solution. The life of a cowboy is often repetitive. Long hours in the saddle, long hours beneath the sun, long hours surrounded by cattle. Hollywood often shows exciting gunfights and dramatic adventures. The reality is usually much quieter. A cowboy might spend an entire day riding across the same stretch of land, watching cattle, checking fences, looking for signs of trouble. The work requires patience, lots of patience. As the afternoon continues, a small cloud of dust appears in the distance. A wagon is approaching, slowly, very slowly. Travel on the frontier rarely happens quickly. Roads are rough. Wheels break, horses become tired, and every journey seems longer than expected. The travelers inside the wagon have likely been moving for days, perhaps even weeks. Their destination may still be far away. Many settlers spend enormous portions of their lives traveling, searching for new opportunities, searching for land, searching for a better future. Some find what they are looking for. Many do not. Yet the journey continues, because hope remains one of the most valuable possessions on the frontier. Hope encourages people to keep moving forward, even when conditions are difficult, even when success seems far away. Meanwhile, back in town, the general store remains busy. Settlers purchase supplies, flour, sugar, coffee, nails, tools, everything required for daily life. The general store serves as the center of many communities. News travels through the store. Stories are shared. Information is exchanged. In a world without telephones or internet, conversation becomes incredibly important. A traveler arriving from another town may bring news from hundreds of miles away. People gather to listen, curious about distant places, curious about events happening beyond the horizon. Sometimes the news is exciting, sometimes it is disappointing. But it is always welcomed, because frontier life can feel isolated. The outside world often seems very far away. As the afternoon slowly fades toward evening, shadows begin to grow longer. The worst of the heat finally starts to pass. A gentle breeze moves across the plains. People work a little easier. Horses appear more comfortable. Even the cattle seem calmer. The golden light of late afternoon spreads across the landscape. Everything takes on a warm glow. The grass, the buildings, the distant hills. For a brief moment, the frontier appears almost magical, beautiful beyond description. Yet every settler knows that beauty alone cannot guarantee survival. Tomorrow may bring drought, a storm, disease, or unexpected hardship. Life here remains uncertain, always uncertain. And perhaps that uncertainty is what defines the Wild West more than anything else. Each sunrise brings opportunity. Each sunset brings relief. And between them lies another day of hard work. Beneath one of the largest skies on Earth, the sun slowly begins its descent toward the western horizon. The light softens, the air cools, and another long frontier day quietly approaches its end. The sun slowly slips below the horizon. Its final rays paint the frontier in shades of gold, orange, and deep red. Long shadows stretch across the plains. The heat of the day begins to fade. And for the first time in many hours, the air feels comfortable again. Across the town, people begin finishing their work. Store owners close their doors. Blacksmiths set aside their tools. Farmers return from their fields. Ranchers guide their horses back toward the stables. The frontier moves at a slower pace now. The urgency of the day is gone, at least for a little while. Smoke rises from chimneys throughout the settlement. Evening meals are being prepared. The smell of fresh bread drifts through the air, along with the scent of stews slowly cooking over open fires. For many families, supper is the most important meal of the day, not because it is elaborate, but because it brings everyone together. After hours of hard labor, people finally have an opportunity to rest, to talk, to share stories, to discuss the events of the day. Inside small wooden homes, lanterns flicker softly. Their warm light fills the rooms with a gentle glow. Outside, darkness continues spreading across the land. The western sky slowly loses its color. One by one, the first stars begin appearing overhead. For a brief moment, the frontier feels peaceful, safe, comfortable. Yet life in the Wild West is rarely free from worry. Many settlers spend their evenings thinking about the future. Will the crops survive? Will there be enough rain? Will the cattle remain healthy? Will winter be harsh? Questions like these never completely disappear. Uncertainty is a constant companion on the frontier. Some families have traveled thousands of miles to build a new life here. They have invested everything they own, their savings, their possessions, their hopes. Success is never guaranteed. Failure is always possible. Yet despite the risks, people continue to come, drawn by opportunity, drawn by freedom, drawn by the belief that a better future lies somewhere beyond the horizon. As darkness settles fully across the town, most people prepare for sleep. The streets grow quiet. The wagons stop moving. The sounds of work disappear. Only a few lanterns remain visible through cabin windows. The frontier night begins. Above, the stars shine brighter than most modern people can imagine. There are no city lights, no glowing billboards, no illuminated highways, only darkness and countless stars. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a river of silver. Many settlers spend a few moments simply looking upward, appreciating the beauty, finding comfort in its familiarity. No matter how difficult life becomes, the stars remain unchanged. They shine over the frontier just as they have for thousands of years. A cool breeze drifts across the plains. Grass sways gently in the darkness. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls. A coyote answers from far away. The wilderness is awake, even while the town sleeps. The frontier remains vast, untamed, and mysterious. Beyond the final buildings lies an ocean of open land, miles of prairie, rolling hills, hidden valleys, and distant mountains barely visible beneath the moonlight. Very few people have explored all of it. Large portions remain unknown. To many settlers, the wilderness feels endless, a place filled with both opportunity and danger, a place capable of rewarding courage and punishing mistakes. As midnight approaches, the town becomes completely silent. The lanterns burn low. The fires fade into glowing embers. Families sleep beneath handmade blankets. Cowboys rest after long days in the saddle. Travelers recover from exhausting journeys. For a few precious hours, the frontier pauses. Work can wait until morning. The challenges of tomorrow remain hidden beyond the darkness. And beneath the vast American sky, another peaceful night settles over the Wild West. The wind continues its quiet journey across the plains. The stars slowly cross the heavens above. And somewhere beyond the horizon, a new day patiently waits to begin. The eastern horizon begins to glow once again. At first, it is only a faint line of pale light. Then slowly, almost unnoticed, the darkness begins to retreat. The stars fade one by one. The moon sinks lower in the sky. And another morning arrives on the American frontier. For many settlers, this is their favorite time of day, before the heat arrives, before the work begins, before the noise of wagons and livestock fills the air. For a few precious moments, the world feels calm. The grass glistens with dew. Birds begin their morning songs. A gentle breeze moves across the open plains. And somewhere in the distance, a horse quietly grazes beneath the rising sun. Soon, however, the peaceful silence begins to disappear. Cabin doors open. Boots step onto dusty ground. Fires are lit. Breakfast is prepared. And another day of labor begins. Life on the frontier follows a simple rhythm. Wake early. Work hard. Rest briefly. Then do it all again tomorrow. Most settlers accept this routine. There is little choice. The land demands effort. Constant effort. Fields must be planted. Animals must be cared for. Buildings must be repaired. Water must be collected. Every task requires time. Every task requires energy. Nothing happens automatically. As the morning grows brighter, a young farmer makes his way toward a distant field. His horse walks beside him. The soil ahead needs attention. Weeks earlier, he planted crops there. Now he hopes they are growing properly. Farming on the frontier is never easy. Success depends upon countless factors. Rain, sunlight, temperature, soil quality, even luck. A single storm can destroy months of work. A drought can ruin an entire season. And insects sometimes arrive in overwhelming numbers. Many settlers know the feeling of watching their hard work disappear almost overnight. Yet they continue planting, continue hoping, continue believing that next season may be better. Hope is as important as food on the frontier. Without it, many would simply give up. Nearby, another family prepares for a journey. Their wagon stands outside their cabin. Large wooden wheels rest motionless in the morning light. Blankets, tools, and supplies are carefully packed inside. Travel in the Wild West requires preparation. A forgotten item can become a serious problem later. The nearest town may be many miles away. perhaps even days away. There are no convenience stores waiting along the road, no service stations, no roadside restaurants, only long stretches of open land. The family climbs aboard. The horses begin moving. Slowly, the wagon rolls away. Its wheels creak softly against the trail. Ahead lies uncertainty, but uncertainty has become a normal part of frontier life. Many people spend years searching for the perfect place to settle. Some never find it. Others discover something even more valuable, a community, a group of neighbors willing to help each other during difficult times. Because despite its hardships, the frontier often brings people together. When storms arrive, neighbors assist one another. When a barn must be built, entire communities gather to help. When tragedy strikes, people share what little they have. Life is difficult, but few survive completely alone. As the sun rises higher, the town becomes busy once again. The blacksmith's hammer echoes through the air. Children carry water buckets. Merchants organize supplies. Dogs wander through the streets. Horses stand patiently beside hitching posts. The familiar sounds of frontier life return. And as another day unfolds beneath the vast western sky, people continue chasing their dreams. Some dream of prosperity. Some dream of land. Others dream of a simple life free from hardship. Not all dreams come true, but the frontier remains a place where people continue trying, continue working, continue hoping, day after day, season after season, beneath endless skies and distant horizons. And as the warm sunlight spreads across the American West once more, another chapter of frontier life quietly begins. The morning slowly gives way to afternoon. The sun climbs higher into the endless western sky. Its warmth spreads across the plains. The dew disappears from the grass. The cool air of dawn becomes a distant memory. Now the frontier settles into another long day of work. Far outside town, a group of cowboys rides across the open range. Their horses move steadily through the tall grass. The landscape stretches for miles in every direction. There are no fences here, no city streets, no landmarks except distant hills and the occasional winding river. It is easy to become lost. Very easy. The frontier is larger than most people can imagine. Days can pass without seeing another settlement. Weeks can pass without hearing news from the outside world. For many people, isolation becomes part of everyday life. Yet the cowboys continue their work. They scan the horizon, watching the cattle, looking for trouble, a missing animal, a broken fence, signs of a predator, anything unusual. The work requires patience. Hours often pass with little excitement. Just the sound of wind, the movement of grass, and the steady rhythm of horses' hooves. Hollywood would later transform cowboys into legendary heroes. But the real job is far less dramatic. Most days involve routine, observation, and endurance. As the afternoon continues, dark clouds begin forming in the distance. At first they seem harmless, small shapes drifting across the horizon. But experienced settlers pay close attention. Weather can change quickly on the frontier. A calm afternoon can become a violent storm within hours. The wind begins to strengthen. The grass bends gently, then more noticeably. The sky darkens. A low rumble of thunder echoes far away. People glance toward the horizon. Storms demand respect, especially here. Lightning strikes can start fires. Heavy rain can flood roads. Strong winds can damage buildings. Nature remains one of the most powerful forces in frontier life, and it often reminds people who is truly in control. As the clouds gather, townspeople move quickly. Animals are brought to shelter. Tools are stored away. Windows are secured. Everyone understands the routine. Preparation is essential. A storm catches the unprepared by surprise, and surprises are rarely welcome on the frontier. The first raindrops begin to fall, large drops striking the dusty ground. Almost immediately, the familiar scent of rain fills the air. The earth seems to breathe. Dust settles. The temperature cools. For a moment, the storm feels refreshing. Farmers smile. Many have been hoping for rain. Their crops need it. Their livestock need it. Their future may depend upon it. Soon, the rainfall becomes heavier. Thunder rolls across the plains. Lightning flashes in the distance. The sky brightens for a brief moment before returning to gray. Inside homes and businesses, people wait patiently. Storms are simply part of life here. Eventually, as all storms do, this one begins to pass. The rain becomes lighter. The thunder grows more distant. The clouds slowly move away, and once again sunlight breaks through. Golden rays illuminate the wet landscape. Puddles reflect the sky. Drops of water cling to grass and leaves. Everything appears fresh, renewed. The frontier feels peaceful once more. But everyone knows another challenge is never far away. There will be another storm, another drought, another difficult season. That is simply the nature of life in the Wild West. Still, people remain. They continue building homes, raising families, planting crops, and chasing dreams beneath the vast American sky. Because despite all its hardships, despite all its dangers, there is something about the frontier that keeps drawing people forward. A belief that somewhere beyond the next hill, beyond the next river, beyond the next horizon, a better future might be waiting. And so the story of the Wild West continues, one day at a time, one season at a time, under the endless sky of the American frontier. The storm has passed. The clouds drift slowly across the western sky. Sunlight returns to the plains. The grass glistens with tiny drops of water. And for a brief moment, the frontier feels calm once again. Far from town, a group of cowboys continues their work. Their horses move steadily through the open range. The cattle graze peacefully. Everything appears simple from a distance. But life as a cowboy is far more difficult than most people imagine. Many people today picture cowboys as symbols of freedom. Men riding wherever they choose, living adventurous lives beneath endless skies. Yet the reality is much less glamorous. Most cowboys spend long hours working, very long hours. Their days often begin before sunrise, and they rarely end before sunset. The work is repetitive, demanding, and exhausting. A cowboy might spend 10 or 12 hours in the saddle every day, sometimes even longer. At first, riding a horse sounds enjoyable, but after weeks of constant travel, the experience becomes very different. Muscles ache, joints become sore. The hot sun beats down without mercy. Dust fills the air, and there is little opportunity to rest. Many cowboys are young men, strong men, yet even they struggle with the physical demands of the job. The frontier does not care how tired you feel. The cattle still need attention. The fences still require repair. The work never truly ends. As the afternoon continues, the cowboys guide a large herd toward a distant water source. Thousands of animals move slowly across the landscape. The process requires patience. One frightened cow can create problems for everyone. Animals are unpredictable, and large groups of animals are even more unpredictable. The greatest fear of many cowboys is a stampede, a sudden burst of panic among the herd. It can happen without warning, a clap of thunder, a strange sound, a flash of lightning, sometimes even a shadow. The cattle begin running. Then more cattle join them. Within moments, thousands of animals surge across the plains. The ground shakes beneath their hooves. Dust fills the air. The noise becomes overwhelming. Stopping a stampede is extremely dangerous. Cowboys race alongside the herd, trying to calm the animals, trying to regain control. Sometimes they succeed. Sometimes they do not. Injuries are common. Horses stumble. Riders fall. And the consequences can be severe. Yet despite the risks, the work continues, because the cattle must keep moving. As the day progresses, hunger begins to appear. Meals on the frontier are simple, especially for cowboys. Fresh food is rare. Many meals consist of beans, bread, salted meat, coffee. The same foods again and again, day after day. There are no restaurants on the open range, no convenience stores, no delivery services. Only whatever supplies can be carried along the journey. The food provides energy, but not much excitement. As evening approaches, the herd finally settles. The cattle gather near water. The horses are cared for. A small camp is established, and for the first time all day, the cowboys have a chance to rest. A fire crackles softly beneath the darkening sky. Coffee is prepared. Simple conversations fill the evening air. The work has been difficult. But the day is finally ending. Above them, the stars begin appearing one by one. The vast western sky grows darker. The plains become quiet. And for a few brief hours, the hardships of frontier life seem far away. Tomorrow will bring more work, more dust, more challenges. But tonight, beneath the endless stars of the American West, the cowboys rest beside their campfire, listening to the wind, watching the flames, and preparing for another long day on the frontier as the cowboys settle beside their campfire and the stars slowly drift across the night sky. Let us leave the open range behind and travel westward, far beyond the cattle trails, far beyond the frontier towns, to a place where thousands of people arrived chasing a single dream: gold. The promise of gold transformed the American West. It attracted farmers, merchants, sailors, teachers, doctors, and countless ordinary people hoping to become rich. Many believed that fortune was waiting just beneath the ground. All they had to do was find it. It sounded simple, but reality was far different. Imagine arriving at a mining camp deep in the mountains. The year is 1875. The journey has been long and exhausting. Narrow trails wind through steep hills. Wagons struggle across rough terrain. Every mile feels more difficult than the last. Eventually, you reach the camp. At first glance, it appears busy. Hundreds of people move between wooden buildings. Pickaxes strike rock. Voices echo through the valley. Smoke rises into the air. Everyone seems focused on one thing: finding gold. But life here is anything but comfortable. Mining camps are crowded places. Many people live in small cabins. Others sleep in tents. Some have little more than a blanket beneath the stars. Privacy is rare. Comfort is limited. And conditions can be harsh. Each morning begins before sunrise. Miners wake early. They eat simple breakfasts. Then they head toward the mines. The work is difficult. Very difficult. Hours are spent digging through rock, swinging heavy tools, carrying equipment, breathing dust. The deeper a mine becomes, the more dangerous it grows. Dark tunnels stretch beneath the earth. Wooden supports hold back tons of rock overhead. Miners trust these supports with their lives. Unfortunately, they do not always hold. Cave-ins are a constant threat. Without warning, part of a tunnel may collapse. Rock crashes downward. Dust fills the air. Escape becomes difficult. For miners trapped underground, survival depends upon luck, and luck is not always generous. Even when tunnels remain stable, danger never disappears. The air underground is often poor. Dust fills every breath. Many miners develop serious lung problems after years of work. At the time, few people fully understand the long-term consequences. They simply continue digging, because stopping means losing income, and losing income means losing hope. As the day continues, temperatures inside the mines become uncomfortable. The air feels heavy. The darkness feels endless. Hours pass slowly. The work never seems to end. Some miners spend entire days searching without finding anything valuable. Others discover tiny amounts of gold, just enough to encourage them to keep going. Stories of enormous discoveries spread quickly through the camps. A lucky miner finds a rich deposit. Suddenly, everyone believes their own fortune may be just around the corner. Hope becomes contagious. Yet the reality remains harsh. For every wealthy miner, thousands find almost nothing. Many spend years searching, years working, years dreaming, only to leave with less money than when they arrived. Still, new arrivals continue appearing. Every week, every month, every year, the dream remains powerful. As evening approaches, miners slowly emerge from the tunnels, covered in dust. Exhausted from work, their muscles ache. Their hands are rough. Their faces reveal the hardships of frontier life. Some gather around campfires. Others visit local businesses. A few spend time discussing rumors of new gold discoveries. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a plan. And everyone hopes tomorrow will be better. Above the camp, the mountains grow dark. The final sunlight disappears behind distant peaks. The temperature begins to fall. Lanterns flicker inside wooden buildings. The sounds of the mining camp slowly fade. Another day has ended. Another day spent chasing fortune beneath the earth. and beneath a sky filled with countless stars, the miners settle down for the night, dreaming of gold, dreaming of success, and dreaming of a future that always seems just beyond reach. As the mining camp falls silent and the last lanterns flicker beneath the mountain sky, let us turn our attention to another challenge of life in the Wild West: illness, injury, and the difficult reality of medical care on the frontier. Today, most people can reach a doctor within minutes. Hospitals stand in nearly every city. Medicines are widely available. And many illnesses that once terrified entire communities are now easily treated. But in 1875, things were very different. Imagine waking one morning with a severe fever. Your head aches. Your body feels weak. Even standing becomes difficult. In the modern world, you might visit a clinic. A doctor could examine you, perhaps prescribe medication, and within days, you might begin feeling better. On the frontier, there is no such certainty. The nearest doctor may live many miles away, perhaps 20 miles, perhaps 50, maybe even farther. The journey itself could take hours, sometimes an entire day, and that is only if the weather cooperates. If heavy rain turns roads into mud, travel becomes even more difficult. For many families, reaching medical help is a challenge all by itself. Even when a doctor arrives, there are limits to what can be done. Medical knowledge continues to improve throughout the 19th century. Yet many treatments remain primitive by modern standards. Doctors carry simple instruments, basic medicines, and a great deal of experience. But they lack many tools we now consider essential. There are no antibiotics, no advanced surgical equipment, no modern scanners, no intensive care units. Many illnesses remain mysterious. Their causes are poorly understood, their treatments uncertain. As a result, even common infections can become dangerous. A small cut on the hand, a scratch from a rusty nail, a minor wound while chopping wood. Today, such injuries rarely cause concern. On the frontier, they can become serious problems. If infection spreads, the situation may worsen rapidly. Doctors do what they can, but sometimes there is little they can do at all. Life expectancy reflects these realities. Many people never reach old age. Children are especially vulnerable. Diseases that modern medicine now prevents once claimed countless young lives. Parents understand this harsh reality. Every illness brings worry. Every fever creates anxiety. Every cough raises concern. As the years pass, frontier families become remarkably resilient. They learn basic medical skills. They keep home remedies close at hand. They share knowledge with neighbors. Communities often depend upon one another because survival frequently requires cooperation. A neighbor with medical experience becomes valuable. A traveling doctor becomes highly respected. Anyone capable of easing suffering earns gratitude. Far beyond the towns and settlements, the challenges become even greater. Cowboys working on distant cattle drives cannot easily visit a doctor. Miners deep within mountain camps face similar difficulties. Travelers crossing the plains often find themselves completely alone. When accidents happen, they must rely on whatever resources are available. And accidents happen often. A fall from a horse, a broken wagon wheel, a mining injury, a farming accident. Life on the frontier is physically demanding. The risks are everywhere. Yet despite these hardships, people continue moving west. They continue building homes, raising families, starting businesses, and creating communities. The challenges are enormous, but so is their determination. As evening approaches once again, a small frontier town settles into its familiar rhythm. Lanterns glow softly behind cabin windows. Smoke rises from chimneys. Families gather around dinner tables. And somewhere, a doctor finishes another long day of travel. His horse moves slowly down a dusty road. His medical bag rests beside him. The sun sinks below the horizon. Darkness returns, and another day of life on the American frontier quietly comes to an end. Above, the stars begin appearing once more. Bright, endless, unchanged, watching silently over a land where survival is never easy, and where every new sunrise brings both challenges and hope. As another evening settles over the frontier, lanterns begin glowing inside small wooden buildings. The streets grow quieter. The day's work is finished. And for many settlers, this is a time to relax, a time to enjoy a warm meal, a time to share stories, and sometimes a time to talk about outlaws. Even today, when people think about the Wild West, they often imagine famous bandits, men riding fast horses, robbing banks, escaping sheriffs, and disappearing into the wilderness. These stories have become legendary. Books were written about them. Movies celebrated them. Entire myths grew around their names. But the reality of frontier crime was often far less exciting and far more uncomfortable. Most outlaws did not live glamorous lives. They spent much of their time hiding, moving from place to place, looking over their shoulders, never knowing when someone might recognize them, or when a lawman might appear unexpectedly. Life as a criminal was rarely easy. Imagine being an outlaw in 1875. You cannot simply withdraw money from a bank. You cannot book a hotel online. You cannot travel without attracting attention. Every town is small. People notice strangers. News spreads surprisingly fast. A wanted poster hanging in one settlement may soon appear in another, and another, and another. The frontier may seem enormous, but communities are often closely connected. Many outlaws discover that staying hidden is more difficult than they expected. As the years pass, law enforcement slowly becomes stronger throughout the American West. New towns establish sheriffs. Territories create additional courts. Railroads improve communication. Information travels farther and faster than before. The days of disappearing completely into the wilderness begin to fade. Of course, crime still exists. Horse theft is particularly common. A good horse is valuable, extremely valuable. For many settlers, losing a horse can create serious hardship. Without transportation, everyday life becomes much more difficult. As a result, horse thieves are often viewed with particular anger. Some communities punish them severely, not because a horse is merely property, but because it represents survival. Meanwhile, stagecoaches carrying money occasionally attract robbers. The journeys are long, the roads are isolated. Opportunities sometimes appear, yet these robberies are relatively rare compared to what movies often suggest. Most frontier towns experience far more ordinary problems: arguments, drunken disputes, petty theft. The same kinds of issues found almost anywhere people gather. The Wild West is not a constant battlefield. Most days pass quietly. Most settlers spend their time working, farming, ranching, building businesses, raising families, trying to improve their lives. Crime exists, but it is not the center of everyday frontier life. As darkness deepens, a few people gather inside the local saloon. The room is warm. Lantern light flickers across wooden walls. Conversations rise and fall. Travelers exchange stories. Some tales are true. Others become exaggerated with every retelling. A simple disagreement becomes a dramatic showdown. A minor thief becomes a legendary outlaw. Over time, these stories grow larger than life, and eventually many become part of American folklore. The real frontier, however, is usually much quieter, much less dramatic, and far more focused on ordinary people trying to survive. Outside, the wind drifts gently through the streets. The stars shine overhead. The town grows still. Doors close. Lanterns dim. Families prepare for sleep. And somewhere beyond the last buildings, the vast wilderness stretches into the darkness. Silent, mysterious, and unchanged. Tomorrow will bring another sunrise, another day of work, another day of hopes and challenges. And the story of the American frontier will continue once more beneath the endless western sky. As another morning arrives on the frontier, the smell of breakfast slowly drifts through the town. Smoke rises from chimneys, wood stoves crackle softly, and families prepare for another long day of work. Food is one of the most important parts of survival in the Wild West, yet it is also one of the most misunderstood. Movies often show cowboys enjoying large meals beside campfires, plates filled with meat, fresh bread, and hot coffee. Sometimes that happened, but not every day. For most settlers, meals were simple, very simple. Breakfast might consist of biscuits and coffee, perhaps a few eggs if chickens were available. Sometimes there would be bacon, Sometimes not. Nothing was wasted. Every ingredient mattered. Food was difficult to obtain, and even more difficult to preserve. There are no refrigerators, no freezers, no supermarkets. Everything depends on careful planning. Families store food for weeks, sometimes months, especially before winter arrives. Flour becomes one of the most valuable supplies. So does sugar, salt, and dried beans. Beans appear in countless frontier meals. They are inexpensive, easy to transport, and capable of lasting a long time. Cowboys often eat beans so frequently that they become tired of them. Yet they continue eating them because there are few alternatives. Coffee is equally important. Many settlers begin every morning with a hot cup. After long hours of hard labor, coffee provides comfort, a small luxury in an otherwise difficult life. Fresh fruits are rare, especially in isolated regions. Vegetables depend upon successful gardens, and successful gardens depend upon weather. A poor season can leave families with limited options. As a result, meals often become repetitive. The same foods, again and again, day after day. Yet people adapt. They always do. Because survival on the frontier is not about variety. It is about endurance. It is about making the most of what is available. And beneath the endless skies of the American West, that simple lesson becomes part of everyday life. As autumn slowly fades across the American West, settlers begin preparing for one of the most difficult seasons of the year, winter. For many modern people, winter means warm homes, reliable heating, and quick trips to the grocery store. But on the frontier, winter is something entirely different. It is a test of preparation, a test of endurance, and sometimes a test of survival itself. The first signs arrive quietly. The mornings become colder. The days grow shorter. Frost appears on the grass before sunrise. A cold wind begins sweeping across the plains. Settlers understand what these signs mean. Time is running out. There is much work to do. Firewood must be collected. Food supplies must be stored. Animals must be sheltered. Every task becomes urgent. Because once winter arrives, opportunities disappear. A farmer spends long days chopping wood. The sharp sound of an axe echoes through the cold air. Each piece of firewood represents warmth, safety, and survival. Without enough fuel, a family may face a dangerous season. Nearby, women and children help preserve food. Vegetables are stored. Meat is salted. Supplies are carefully organized. Nothing can be wasted. A mistake made in autumn may become a serious problem in January. As the weeks pass, the temperature continues to fall. The wind grows stronger. Dark clouds gather overhead. Then one morning, the first snow arrives. At first it is beautiful. Small flakes drift gently from the sky, covering the prairie in white. The world suddenly feels quieter, softer, almost magical. But experienced settlers know better. Snow may look peaceful, yet it brings many challenges. Roads become difficult to travel. Wagons struggle to move. Rivers freeze. Water becomes harder to collect. Even simple tasks require more effort. As winter deepens, storms become more severe. The wind howls across the open plains. Snow falls heavily. Visibility disappears. The landscape becomes a sea of white. During a blizzard, people can become lost only a short distance from home. Some settlers tie ropes between buildings. Others avoid traveling entirely. The safest place is often indoors. Inside a small frontier cabin, a fire crackles continuously. The warmth is comforting, but fuel must be used carefully. Every log matters. Every piece of wood has value. Outside, temperatures continue falling. The wind rattles the walls. Snow piles against doors and windows. The storm seems endless. Hours pass, then days. Eventually, the weather begins to improve. The clouds move away. The sky clears. Sunlight returns. But winter is not finished yet. Not even close. For ranchers, the season creates additional problems. Cattle struggle to find food beneath deep snow. Water sources freeze. Animals grow weaker. Many ranchers spend countless hours trying to protect their herds. Some succeed. Others suffer devastating losses. Nature can be unforgiving. Even the strongest preparation cannot guarantee success. Yet despite the hardships, Frontier families endure. They adapt. They persevere. They help one another whenever possible. Neighbors share supplies. Communities work together because survival often depends on cooperation. As winter slowly continues across the American West, life becomes quieter. People spend more time indoors. Stories are shared around warm fires. Children listen carefully. Lanterns cast gentle shadows across wooden walls. Outside, snow blankets the land. The prairie sleeps beneath the cold night sky. And above it all, countless stars shine brightly in the frozen darkness. For now, the frontier remains still. The wind has calmed. The fire burns softly. And another winter night settles across the vast American West. As the winter months slowly pass, spring eventually returns to the frontier. The snow melts. The rivers begin flowing once again, and life becomes busy. Very busy. For frontier women, every day is filled with responsibilities. Before sunrise, the work begins. Breakfast must be prepared. Water must be carried. Clothing must be washed. Children must be cared for. And the work rarely stops until late in the evening. Life is demanding, yet countless women help build the communities that shape the American West. Without their effort, many settlements would never survive. Imagine spending weeks inside a wooden wagon, slowly crossing thousands of miles of wilderness. The journey is uncomfortable. Dust fills the air. Roads are rough. Storms appear unexpectedly. And every day brings uncertainty. Some travelers become ill. Others face shortages of food and water. Yet families continue westward, driven by dreams of land, opportunity, and a better future. The trail stretches endlessly ahead, and every mile requires courage. Across the American West, towns appear almost overnight. A gold discovery attracts miners. Businesses arrive. Hotels are built. New homes appear. Suddenly, a thriving community exists where none existed before. But success is not always permanent. When the gold disappears, people leave. Shops close. Homes are abandoned. The streets grow silent. Years later, only empty buildings remain. Ghost towns become reminders of forgotten dreams and of how quickly fortunes can change on the frontier. Building the railroads. The railroad changes everything. Before the railroad, travel is slow. Supplies are expensive. Communication is difficult. Then steel tracks begin crossing the continent. Workers endure extreme heat, freezing cold, dangerous conditions, and exhausting labor, day after day, mile after mile. Eventually, distant towns become connected. Goods move faster. People travel farther. And the American West begins to transform forever. For children, frontier life is very different from today. There are no video games, no smartphones, no television. Instead, children help their families. They carry water, feed animals, gather firewood, and learn practical skills at an early age. School exists, but attendance is not always possible. Work often comes first. Yet despite the hardships, children still find time to play, to explore, and to dream. Beneath the endless western sky, a night alone on the prairie. Imagine standing alone beneath the stars. No town nearby, no lights in the distance. Only open prairie stretching toward every horizon. The night feels enormous. The silence feels endless. The wind moves softly through the grass. Coyotes howl far away. Above you, thousands of stars fill the sky. The Milky Way glows brightly overhead. For a moment, the frontier feels peaceful, timeless, and impossibly vast. Why most settlers failed. Many people came west seeking success. Some achieved it. Most did not. Droughts destroyed crops. Harsh winters killed livestock. Businesses failed. Savings disappeared. Dreams faded. Life on the frontier demanded resilience. Those who survived learned to adapt, to endure setbacks, and to keep moving forward, even when circumstances seemed impossible. The end of the Wild West. As the years pass, the frontier begins to change. Railroads expand. Towns grow larger. Telegraphs connect distant communities. More settlers arrive. The wilderness slowly shrinks. The age of the frontier begins to fade. The legendary Wild West does not disappear overnight. But gradually, the old way of life becomes history. A new America emerges, one connected by technology, industry, and growth. Life after sunset. As darkness falls across the plains, lanterns glow softly in cabin windows. Families gather together. Stories are shared. Simple meals are enjoyed. The challenges of the day are finally behind them. Outside, the stars shine brilliantly. The wind drifts across the prairie, and the frontier grows quiet once more. Sleepy conclusion. And now our journey through the American Wild West slowly comes to an end. We have crossed dusty trails, visited frontier towns, met cowboys, miners, settlers, and travelers. We have experienced harsh winters, long journeys, and endless days of hard work. Life in the Wild West was rarely easy. It demanded strength, patience, and determination. Yet millions of people faced those challenges, and together they helped shape the history of America. Now the frontier grows quiet. The campfires have burned low. The wagons stand still. The towns sleep peacefully beneath the stars. A cool breeze moves across the open plains. The moon hangs high above the horizon, and somewhere in the distance, a lone coyote calls into the night. Allow your thoughts to drift away. Allow your breathing to slow. And imagine yourself resting beneath the endless sky of the American West. Safe, warm, and completely at peace. Good night, and sleep well. Please subscribe to YouTube channel. Thanks.